This individual has had the opportunity to be as a poet, a writer, lecturer, curator, and policy advocate who has helped Native peoples protect sacred places and recover more than 1 million acres of land. She has developed key laws in 4 decades to promote and protect Native nations, sovereignty, children, arts, cultures, and languages, including the American Indian Religious Freedom Act, National Museum of the American Indian Act, Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, and Executive Order on Indian Sacred Sites. She was a former executive director of the National Congress of American Indians and is now the president of the Morning Star Institute. And I take privilege to introduce to you Dr. Suzan Harjo.
Thank you. I want to first express my appreciation to the Special Rapporteur, a longtime friend and colleague, and I'm very proud of the work you're doing, and thank you for assuring that we have these kinds of forums to express our views of the Declaration. Also, I want to thank the University of Arizona faculty and staff and administrators, and especially the students, who are the hardest working people I've ever seen at a convention or a gathering of any kind. And thanks for doing so well for us and treating us so well. I want to begin by saying that especially in light of my Dene and Cheyenne brother here, who called out Maheo earlier. Maheo, for the Gista people, for the Cheyenne people, is the great mysterious. And that's what we're a part of, the greatest mystery that anyone has ever come up with. And we're working our way through that mystery, and we understand that all will be revealed at some point. It gets revealed very slightly and only around the edges in our lifetime. Yesterday, our friend Winsler Noisy from Apache country talked about the same thing that the Gista people were told by our great prophet, Sweet Medicine, that if we stop being the Cheyenne people, if we stop being the Gista people, if we stop being, as he said, the Apache people, if all of us stop being the native people, chaos will ensue. We're the people who pray for the good day, who actually do the things that we're supposed to do and that we've done for millennia at our sacred places, in our sacred heritage languages, reflecting our cultures, who the people are, what the people want, and how they're going to live with what we've been presented with, what we've been confronted with. We are the evidence of our ancient cultural continuum. And we are reminded on a daily basis by elders, by children, by every small voice, that we have to keep being the people we were meant to be, in the places we were meant to be them. When the Vejo, the spider, who Sweet Medicine said would come from a distant place and would cut lines into Mother Earth that would make something that looks like a spider web. And you see that if you look at an aerial view of any part of our great Mother Earth. You see that spider web, that pattern. So that's why we call the person who came here the Vejo, the spider. It's not about race. It's not about gender. It's not about place of origin. It's about practice, behavior, what the people do with what they have before them. It wasn't enough for us to make treaties and to grant the newcomers with sufficient land for them to make a country on. They had to try to break our spirits. And the miracle is not that we've survived, but that we've survived with our spirits intact. And that's despite some really targeted efforts, 50 years of over a half century of the civilization regulations, federal rules that outlawed dancing, outlawed the sun dance and all other so-called ceremonies, outlawed the acts of a medicine man, characterized them as pagan and heathen, issued these kinds of regulations saying no roaming off the reservation. You couldn't even leave to go to your sacred place without the express permission, a written note from the federal Indian agent. These were rules that were put in place without any authorizing law, put in place by the Secretary of the Interior, several of them, from 1880 to the 1930s, till 1935. Think how long that was. And if you wonder why it is that our languages are right on the edge of extinction, and so many of our sacred places are in danger of being bulldozed or poisoned or recreated to death, it's because of things that were set in motion by these civilization regulations that codified what was to have been the final solution for us. It criminalized everything that makes us Native people. They wanted us to stop being the Gista people. They wanted us to stop being the Muskogee people. They wanted us to stop being the people of the earth, the people of these waters. We have religious instructions that you can't complete a certain kind of ceremony without jumping in the clear blue stream. And boy, those are getting harder to find by the minute. These cultural rites are the basis for everything else in our lives. And if they're not, nothing else goes right. So these are the foundations. These are the undergirding strength of our peoples. So we really have to take care of them. And when I see some of our Native people behaving like the Veja and building casinos on our sacred places, as is happening with the porch band on our sacred, Muskogee sacred hickory ground, historic place, sacred place, burial ground, digging up our ancestors, and then after a decade, just almost throwing them back in the ground without telling the traditional people of hickory ground what they were doing. This is a horrible way to behave, and it's not a good sign that our own people are behaving like the Veja. So we have to stop that for our own protection. We have a lot of good laws that we have put in place. A lot of us have worked very hard on national Native efforts, and we've had lots of non-Native friends who have helped us gain protections for our ancestors, protection for our burial grounds, protection for our religions, protections for our languages. We have great laws that are in place that we can build on. But at the same time, we have a lot of white-gloved racism that leaves no fingerprints. Busy, 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 undermining these laws every second of every day. We no longer see these no Indians or dogs allowed signs. They've been taken inside. Unfortunately, they've been taken into the hearts of some of the people who are today working against us. So when We're made fun of on national TV, and when you have a pundit saying, get over it, well, we can't get over it because it's not over. The assaults on our languages, the assaults on our cultural rights, the assaults on the things we can hold and the things that we can't even see that are important to us are going on now. They're going on daily, they're going on minute by minute, and we just have to train more and more young people to really be the ones to combat this. I have a written statement that has a lot of recommendations that have been built on and refined and worked on by the National Congress of American Indians, by a lot of our native nations. A lot of good leaders of nations and organizations have worked on the cultural rights agenda. We're not finished, and in some cases we're just getting started. So for young people who may be listening to this, or students thinking, well, they've done everything, they've done the big things. We've done some big things and some good things. There's a lot left to do, and I hope that people will take a look at these recommendations. Some of them are big ideas, some of them are tinkering, because what's happening as people try to dismantle the good laws that we have, they're tinkering. They're undermining us bit by bit by bit and trying to distract us, trying to keep our minds off the major things that we have to do. And we have a lot of emergency things, lots of major things, but we can't ignore all of these things that are happening. We have all sorts of threats that are at every door of our homes. And we have to take care of all of them, and all of them all of a sudden and all at once. Thank you for inviting me here and for permitting me to exceed my time by a minute. Thank you.